Whenever I find myself surrounded by a group of elderly Asian people, such as during dinner with my large extended family, a certain topic would usually come up, leading to a very predictable discussion consisting of beliefs that commonly perpetuates their demographics. These Farangs are all about their freedom. They don't care about what happens to other people. Their obsession with individualism made them inconsiderate, selfish, and self-centered. I believe this is a very common view of Westerners and especially common in elderly Asians regarding freedom. They usually claim that the country that they have spent their entire lives in are better, more disciplined, and conformity along with strict regulations are the right way to govern our society. This provoked me enough to get me into learning about Western culture and what we can learn from them regarding freedom. There is a common belief that if men are left in a free society, every man will pursue his own selfish aims, and therefore a free society is anti-altruistic and thus evil. But is that really true? Was that how Western culture and civilization were created? You see, according to multiple political philosophers, such as Alexis de Tocqueville, Friedrich Schiller, and Friedrich Hayek, altruism can only be possible only if you have freedom of choice. If it is a necessity, altruism loses its meaning. If you are forced as a requirement to do good, what you are doing is no longer good. A professor is not really considered a good professor if he gives feedback to his students as part of his job requirements. He's just doing his job. But if he helps and supports his student, knowing that it is not required for him to do so, that would make him a truly good professor. In a free society, where you truly have the choice to do good, knowing all other possibilities that can be done with your time, energy, and skills, dictates the value of the deed you have done. A free society allows the individual to apply his knowledge and principles to circumstances that he is aware of, to causes that he fights for, in order to help alleviate suffering voluntarily. Without freedom to act, there is no morality. Liberty does not force you to do good, but it gives you the choice to do so. It also allows you the choice to go against what is considered good. True freedom of action includes the freedom to act in a way that is frowned upon. Although a lot of the time, this ends up resulting in annoyance to the general public, it can also highlight some of the stupidity and unreasonable beliefs and standards put up by that culture. Without this, society will never be aware of the gaps in their customs and would never be able to progress and adapt to the changing era. Society also has values, and just like the individual, the values they hold changes with time. And it is up to the individual to see to it that the culture that they are living in is not a restriction on their sphere of life more than it is of service. It is impossible to be completely selfless to everyone. Every single one of our actions allows one person to benefit from them as well as someone else who misses that opportunity. This is an undeniable truth in every society. In the West, however, the emphasis of choice was one of the fundamental rights and duties of the free man to decide whose needs appear to him most important. He should be allowed to choose who he associates himself with and whose needs he serves. Our responsibility are always particular, catered to our wants and our needs, our environment, and what we value. In reality, a free society is as beneficial and necessary for the most altruistic person just as much as the most selfish. If altruism is forced through a higher power, not only will they miss out on helping a lot more people who are unnoticed, unfairly treated, or abandoned by the system, it attenuates the feelings of voluntary assistance that normally motivates a person intrinsically to see through to the success of his altruism. In the West, they believe that our uniqueness, molded into our personality, allows every single one of us to have different values. One tough pill to swallow is that some values upheld by some people may not align with ours. Yet, in a free society, that is what is honored. Nobody is the ultimate judge on what values everyone must comply to. Unless the individual will infringe upon the rights of other people, no one is allowed to prevent or sabotage his pursuit of fulfillment. But Western societies did not and could not reach where they are now as a result of freedom alone. Responsibility is what allows us to make the best use of our knowledge and abilities to the full in achieving our ends. This includes being of service to the people we care about. Your fate will be dependent not only on the skills and talents that you have, but also on it successfully being of service for the benefit of society. As a side note, in this age of more and more diversity of choice, it is more important than ever to find your niche. Let's continue with the video. In a free society, we are responsible for our own outcome. But is this belief actually true? Because, in the end, responsibility is, like many other things, a social construct. Would a belief that being successful or not falls on you and only you make you successful? Or can only successful people afford to believe in that because they are already successful? This is a Satoru Gojo level of a chicken or egg question. According to Friedrich Hayek, though, it doesn't matter if it is true or not, because this personal responsibility belief, smug as it may be, allows one to advance rather than blame others for the circumstances of his failures. One mindset leads the individual to strive and be of service to his society, while the other leads to impediment and sabotage. This, however, elicits a very understandable rebukement from the people who have yet to find their way, or who has not managed to fully exploit their skills as well as the other person. They complain of the unfairness of society and how their talents are wasted. A free society by no means does not have corporate jobs or career paths set by another establishment, but if you assign to someone else the task of finding your usefulness, you must accept having a smaller reward. This is how it is in almost every single society where a lot of the population go through school and end up with jobs working for the government, at whatever position they are needed. There are usually spots open, but the wages are abysmal and they can barely fulfill their needs as a result, whereas successful entrepreneurs in their country earn massive wealth and is responsible for a large portion of the country's GDP. The harshest form of discipline a free society may have upon the individual is for him to fend for himself with no guarantee of success. However, this is necessary, as if a man is forced to use his gifts in a certain way to follow a certain path in order to serve a certain someone, he will never be able to use his gifts the way he himself feels that he deserves. And therefore, in the West, they believe that the downsides of working for your own needs is better than the pressure of being subjugated to orders from above. In many cultures, there looms a more aristocratic view of seeing advantages gained by those more resourceful as unfair. In order to prevent this, people lived in organizational hierarchies, and they were assigned tasks and duties from birth. They valued their gifts being recognized by others more than cultivating and expressing them on their own. This culture still exists in bits and pieces today, sometimes only replacing the hierarchy with the family. In many Asian families, you are not allowed to pursue anything your parents tell you not to, and the "you must be a doctor" is still a very real culture here. A society that does not value individual uniqueness and diversity of values is an unfree society. These societies do not believe in the value of the individual and therefore does not have freedom. The wonders of technology that our entire planet is enjoying today, the prosperous and comfortable lives most of us lead, would not exist had it not be for the discovery of better uses of resources, both human and environmental. One of the greatest contributions to the welfare of a society that an individual can provide is improvements in general quality of life as a result of their resourcefulness, as this would benefit both the rich and the poor, and therefore the free culture that provides the most opportunities for successful entrepreneurship will prosper far beyond any other countries. A free society is built to allow the fullest opportunities and influences to make this happen, such as providing the ability to find a suitable position and removing arbitrary barriers that negatively impacts a certain minority over another, such as those of a certain gender, race, age, and those of nepotism. Instead of trying to suppress the creativity and uniqueness to ensure a fairer outcome, we should recognize the successes allowed only as a result of the liberty that a free society brings and base our education and values around that. Although it is never possible to deduct the exact formula for success, it must be worthwhile for everyone to achieve it.